Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show. Hunter Hart, welcome back to ATV-TALK. How are you, brother?
Welcome back. It's good to be back. I'm excited to be here. You know, we've got a lot to talk about tonight, exciting stuff, and we're gonna do it here on ATV Talks.
That's awesome, man. Hey, I know that this year probably isn't the greatest for you, but I know that there's developmental years in racing. Every racer, every team has them. So what are you guys developing, and how are you coming through the process?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it hasn't gone well. Not much has gone the right way. Started the year out rough, you know, and then we were actually doing some big suspension testing before Florida. Ended up just miscalculated a tree a little bit. Ended up bending a frame, bent a stem, bunch of that stuff. Ended up actually doing a pretty good bone bruise on my right thigh. I've still got a scar from actually where it was at. The bruise was about the size of a small cantaloupe or a large softball. And it actually stretched the whole way around my leg. So that we dealt with from about rounds 2 to probably 7. And then from there we kind of started at the upswing. Round 8 was we ended up 5th there, and then round 9 was snowshoe, where we led most of the day. And you know, then round 10 we were leading when we broke. And then round 11, it was just, you know, follow the leader. Basically, there weren't many passes made in XC1 that day due to the dust. But other than that, you know, I mean, it's definitely been interesting. We've been able to look at a lot of different pieces of the program and started doing a lot of changing, you know, just kind of things that were getting old that I was kind of, you know, just tired of. And we've started to not re-engineer the wheel, but we've changed the wheel, you know. Yeah, you know, not much else other than that, you know. Speaking of wheels, Max tires, love them.
Hey, it's okay. Plug whatever you need to when you got to. That's why you're here. Hey, so when you were talking about the incident where you misjudged the tree and had some damage, how did you deal with the injury and prep yourself to go ride that hard?
Oh man, honestly, so I ended up doing it Tuesday. Ended up smoking the tree. Had a couple people there. I've actually got a video of it. And you know, I was just third gear. Basically, there was three sets of trees that we kind of would come out of, and I would jump into them, land into the berm. And the tree root ball had actually gotten exposed, is what ended up catching me. And I mean, literally, you just watch me just bro up, and then you just hear, and it just basically grabs the front right tire, spins the bike sideways, and actually launches me over the bars. I hit so hard, the inertia of my thighs going over actually bent my stem forwards. And you know, it was violent. Like we were on the ground, and we actually ended up going to get it checked to make sure that it actually wasn't a broken femur. Because so it happened Tuesday. The GNCC was at Saturday. I couldn't walk on it. Wednesday, Thursday, couldn't physically walk. Friday, I could hobble around a little bit, hobbled around on the e-bike. And then Saturday when we raced, it was funny. Like I had a new pair of boots on. The left boot completely worn. The sole was shot. The right boot, dude, not a scratch. It looked fresh. And then it was a bummer because the General was only a week later, so there wasn't much heal time on it there. Luckily in Florida, they've got some pretty serious medical centers that have some state-of-the-art stuff that we were able to do. And from there, we just were basically on the heel. And after that, you actually had to, once it heals, you have such a deep laceration on the muscle and stuff like that. Like there's still an indent in my leg, so you have to basically work on getting the muscle fiber and the tissue to realign to where they're all the way they should be. And it pulls a lot of weight, you know, off of the right leg. And you know, it's definitely been a less than ideal year. You know, I mean, there's about one race that I'll look at and I'll be like, all right, that one was good, and that was snowshoe. Other than that, dude, you know, we could take the rest of them to the scrapyard, get 50 cents on the dollar for them.
So what do you think the biggest lesson learned through all of it is?
Man, you know, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. You know, that's my best analogy for it. And that's about it, you know.
You know, but really, every time that there's adversity in something, you've been facing this adversity all year long. It sounds like with this leg injury, it had to have changed your whole riding setup.
Yeah, it definitely changed a good bit. We've started to we actually worked a good bit on getting lower on the bike. That was one of the things we were changing. Was we ended up going, I used to run a +1 stem and a stock subframe. We've actually gone to a +0 stem and a lowered Walsh subframe for the remainder of the year. And that actually ended up shaving, and I shaved about 8 to 10 seconds off my lap at my home track, and it's carried over to the races. The first GNCC I actually ran that at was snowshoe, and that one, the results speak for themselves there. And then we've run it the last two rounds as well.
So you're liking the lower bike. You're a fairly tall guy, though, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm about 6 foot, 6'1", depending on how you want to measure. And it just helped to get lower on the bike. I know Bryson runs a lowered subframe as well, and he's about the same height as I am. And it actually helps us just be able to move so much across the bike because we are so tall to get that weight lower, and it's just easier.
That sounds like did you well, it sounds great for you, but how did you figure that out? Was it just by accident, or were you somebody coming and talked in your ear, or
Yeah,
where
yeah,
did the
no.
theory come from?
We were searching. I spend a lot of time in the winter searching for things that are equal to, better than, or worse than what I'm currently running. And we had actually started shaving my seats because I didn't have I forgot my seat one day, and I had a weaning seat, and I put a weaning seat on and I liked it. And Chad actually runs a very low seat with a bump in the middle to kind of keep him forward. It was too low for me. I didn't like being that low. It put a lot of weight the way I didn't want it, just because of my height. To where then I took a turkey carver, cut a quad tech foam in about half, and that was good. And then we also went in and we ended up just basically going in and cutting it and kind of shaved it a little bit. The first version was pretty rough, but it did the job. And then from there, I was like, all right, I don't want to keep shaving seat foams, because it's pain. Like I don't like shaving that many foams. I was like, what if I can drop just the subframe in general, run a stock foam, and go from there? And that's kind of what we ended up doing, was just putting a lowered subframe on there, rode with it a good bit. And that was just kind of where it came from. Was first we shaved the seat, and then I was like, all right, I don't really enjoy shaving seats, but I'll do it if I have to where we ended up leading to running a lowered subframe, which did the same. The height that my butt was at was the same with a lowered subframe and a stock seat versus a shaved seat in a stock subframe, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
and
And
and yeah, yep.
go
And
ahead.
then once you've dropped the back end, you've got to figure out a way to drop the front, because if not, you're kind of like choppered out because your butt feels like you're sagging back. So that's where the +0 stem comes in at. Is we kind of had to basically, we dropped everything to where the feel of the bike didn't change at all, because everything was essentially an inch higher. We dropped everything an inch, bars and seat position, to where it all feels the same, basically. And then we also ended up, actually, Daryl and I work a lot on the H series Nerf bar that we run the Wrath ones. And Daryl and I actually worked on a couple different positions that we wanted to run at, and then the positions that I ended up running, the peg height that is now being built is what we ended up with, which is a lowered, about, man, I forget the exact measurement on it, but it's a lower cut Nerf bar, so that it basically drops the weight of the bike down to help the rider be closer to the ground, corner faster, get that weight, keep the feet, everything closer to the ground, so that you can corner faster and go faster ultimately.
So how do you determine? Well, hold that thought.
Okay.
Your leg injury with these modifications, are you 100% with that leg now?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's good now. It's definitely, I mean, you can still, luckily I had a full summer build on it that I was able to, essentially, that was one of the nice things too, is there were a couple things in the program, the fitness wise, that I wanted to change. I ended up getting a 6 week break I didn't plan for. I was able to kind of TP some stuff and realign with some other good stuff that I wanted to try in that period. And the leg's good now. I mean, it every now and then it'll be a little sore, like in the cold and stuff, but we'll be good.
Okay, I was wondering, you've made these changes, and I was just wondering if there was an effect on your leg while
No,
with the new testing and everything.
No, so as you get lower on the bike, I will say the common consensus is that it takes a little bit more strength in the legs to ride with the lowered subframe shave seat, whichever direction you want to go. When you lower anything that much, you have to think when you drop it to stand up and be in a hover or attack position, you have to raise yourself exponentially more. So it's a little bit more stress on the legs and stuff. Luckily my trainer, Haley Crowfoot from HC Conditioning, she's got us dialed in for stuff like that. And especially when I wanted to make those changes, you know, like we reached out to her, changed the program up a little bit to suit that, to build the legs more so than originally, so that we could be adequate there and not be, you know, upper body strength, lower body weak, if that makes sense as well.
Yeah, I understand. Well, it does affect your upper body as well because you are lower. It changes the position on your shoulders, doesn't it?
Yes. So I wouldn't say it changes the shoulders as much as it allows you to kind of go from like a back seated to almost you're kind of like up more on the bar so you can corner quicker. You know, that's the biggest change that these allow with the plus zero stem. Is you feel, the best way to describe it to somebody that is wondering if they'd like the feeling or not is if you get on like TRX 90, when you get on a pit quad and you're on it and you're like, dude, I can just turn these bars, dude, and I just get on top of them and just muscle it in. That's the way it feels with a plus zero stem. Is you can just basically get up on the bars and just like force it in. It also feels better like when you're jumping because it makes the bike feel. Yeah, so I mean, the best way to describe it is like when you're driving it in the corners, you can feel like if you're up on top of it, like on a TRX 90, when you can just force it in the corners, much like a lot of those moto guys. Like, you know, it doesn't work for XC. We couldn't run the seats they run just because it'd be too much impact, you know, on the low back. But I mean, some of those guys are just running a seat pan and cover, and is what it looks like. You know, I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of foam in there, but not enough to that I would want to run. But that's where they're working so hard on getting lower to the ground as well. And you know, I mean, it's worth a try. You know, like if somebody's curious if they'd like to run a lowered subframe, but they don't want to spend, you know, what the cost of a lowered subframe is, you know, take a stock foam or something like that and like kind of like shave it down a little bit, or just try and shave a foam, because I mean foams are, you know, you can buy a new Quad-Tech foam for about $70, and just trying one of those out, you know, to see like shave your foam, see if you like it or not. And if you do, you know, man, maybe I want to try a lowered subframe. You know, there's a couple great companies that are making lowered subframes right now that you can pick from. I know the Walsh one is a standard. They're just a standard height, like what they sell is the height you get. I know the Lone Star one is adjustable as well. So if somebody was like, man, I really don't want to drop it a whole inch, I can go about half an inch. That's another option for them to do as well.
Are you looking for the best suspension technology for your sport ATV? Look no further than Elka Suspension, the industry leader in sport ATV suspension technology. With championship wins in prestigious events such as the Dakar Rally, Score, Best in the Desert, ATV MX, Cross Country, and Works, Elka Suspension has established itself as the go-to choice for athletes and enthusiasts alike. But they don't just stop at ATVs. They're constantly expanding into new markets, including UTVs, trucks, SUVs, pit bikes, snowmobiles, and more. Their commitment to innovation and quality means they're always looking to improve and adapt so you can enjoy a smooth ride wherever you go. Want to learn more about what Elka Suspension can do for you? Visit their website at elkasuspension.com or give them a call at 450-655-4855. They will always be happy to answer your questions and help you find the perfect suspension solution for your needs. Now, my question that I was going to ask before I was asking about your leg is, so you've made these changes and you take your team out, and what are you doing to determine that they work or don't work?
Lap times and body feel. You know, you know, if I'm happy with the way I feel on a Monday, Tuesday when I ride a race bike, dude, I'm going to take it to the races. You know, the change I made in the suspension for Florida, to relap back to when people are like, dude, like, why are you changing all these things? The suspension that Fox and I had before I crashed actually the stuff I was testing on my loop in Florida is about a 735, a 738. You're rolling like that's a solid lap time. Anything in the 730s is solid. And we put on the new suspension. I went out and I did 2 laps because you've always got to do at least more than once. So you're not doing a heater. And my average across those was a 620, 625, and a 626, on those two. So I mean, we dropped roughly 8 to 10 seconds on a on a 7-minute track. You multiply that across by 7 times. 4 is 7, 14, 21, 28. That's about where we're at in Florida. So I mean, if I could have dropped 40 seconds a lap in Florida, dude, I mean, that's 40 seconds a lap is a ton, especially at our level. And that was kind of the direction that we ended up going with my Florida stuff. Granted, it became, in the closer you get to the razor's edge, the more on you have to be. Like my stuff, if, for example, that those shocks, like if I'm out at Croom and I'm just kind of cruising around it, so like that's where, like, if you're out at Croom, did it get the lap times where I talked about the lap times?
We talked about that before that.
Okay, perfect. And then, but like if you're just out at Croom cruising around and stuff, and that's where, like, sometimes the closer you get to the razor's edge on parts, the harder it becomes to, like, just be able to go out there and, like, have fun and ride around, because the parts just don't react the way you want them to. Like, you have to be pushing the parts to the way that you set them up to be pushed, or else the bike's going to handle weird.
Correct. So when you're out testing, you have to be in race mode.
Yes, absolutely. And you can't be, when you're testing parts, you can't go out there either and be like, all right, I'm going to go sprint for 5 minutes, because then you don't know either, because you can't sprint a whole 2-hour GNCC. You have to go what you think is going to be about your race pace and set them up for there. That's kind of what you got to do across the board with a lot of this stuff. And, and you don't know until you try. Like that's the reason we're headed to 2 locals this weekend, is because we have 2 different setups that we're going to try, and we're going to go back to back on them and see what's better, see what's worse, see what I like, and see what I don't like.
Okay. So this brings me to one of the things that I wanted to talk with you about, because you're a professional ATV racer in the XC1 class in GNCC. I would like to get inside your head a little bit and find out mental preparation. Okay. Racing is so mental. You guys physically train. You have a lot of things that distract you. Your mental preparation for racing, what is that like?
Dude, honestly, it's at the end of the day, just, I mean, you need the small wins to make the big wins. I mean, it was mid-season, it wasn't going well. Truthfully, the best thing that could have happened to us was, the podium at Snowshoe, because that allowed for us to go into summer break, take a step back, and look at what was actually working and what wasn't working. Because, at that point, everything that I had tried, was proving that it wasn't working,
Right.
And I would say the biggest piece for mental preparation is, in your heart, at the end of the day, you have to know that what you did was the best for you, whether that's you go run on a Tuesday before a race, or that you eat 6 glazed donuts the Wednesday night before. Like, whatever you do leading into the race, you have to believe wholeheartedly is the greatest possibility for success that you could give yourself, and that's where I think a lot of people fall short, is that they prep everything but themselves for the race. Like a lot of people just, they're just happy to be there, and that's cool. Like I don't enjoy being there without the results. That's kind of the thing that wakes me up in the morning, is that I don't enjoy to go there and ride around in 10th place. Like that doesn't sit well with me at all.
So if you rode the best you could, prepared the best you could, and you got a 10th, then what do you do? So if you got 10th and you rode the best you could, you had a great setup, you felt wonderful, and you ride off the track, what do you do with that 10th place?
Then we're cool with it. Like, truthfully, second at Snowshoe, I was cool with. I was like, I wouldn't have changed anything else that day. I was like, that was what we came here to do, and I'm cool with that. Another key example, the GNCC 2 weekends ago that I broke at, I was like, man, it sucks, but we came and we showed that we are one of the fastest people here. I mean, we literally came from 6th, 7th place off the start, and I had run Bryson down, and that's that. And at the end of the day, the results didn't show it, but it's a building point. You build off of it with the knowledge that you currently have, and you show up 2 weeks later to be better. Same thing that we're going to do in 2 weeks at Penton. I will not ride around in 10th place again.
Right. And that's great. And mental preparation, you said something earlier in the conversation about, so if you like your setup on Monday or Tuesday, you'll take it to the races. How much is it to that final test when you're getting ready to say, this is the combination I want to run? Do you know mentally it's going to be a good weekend or a bad weekend through that ride?
Yes and no. I mean, you can have a feeling that it's going to go one way or the other, but truthfully, Leonard, I've rode race bikes on a Monday and I've been like, dude, this is the biggest, this is the biggest pile I've ever ridden. And you go because race bikes are, fortunately, race bikes are so fresh and they're usually have such new bearings, such everything's just new. Usually new stuff is just tight, they don't flex well, stuff like that. You know that going in, and then you're like, all right, you go to the race and you ride it and you're like, it's way better, because races are generally rougher than anything you can usually find to practice on. And that's kind of where it comes from, is just making sure that that the setup that you have on your race bike is identical to the stuff you practice on. And if that's the case, then run it. It might not be perfect, but at the end of the day, no race is going to be. You have to just be okay with it being not okay.
So what you're saying is it's okay to have an ugly win.
100%, absolutely, dude. I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week.
Well, it's good to be lucky and good, right?
That's right.
You mentioned something about some products that you are working on.
Yes. So very thankfully, QuadTech, I've kind of become the general manager of QuadTech, sales rep, all that good stuff. And we have some exciting new products in the pipeline. We're gonna actually unveil our first ever TRX 90 hood end of this week. I don't know when this is airing, but as of this week, I think second week of September, we're gonna have some new products on the pre-order availability. We're also gonna have some new 450 stuff coming for you Honda guys. And it's good. We've got that in the pipeline. We've got some other new products that we're going to actually be partnering with some other companies on, and it's good. QuadTech, it's a legacy brand. They've been around since, man, early 2000s, right, Leonard? Right,
Been around a long time.
long
Had
time.
dealings with them years and years and years ago,
Yep.
with stuff that they used to do with Duncan Racing and myself. Yeah, so they've been around a long time, touched a lot of people.
Like legacy brand, and it's good. It's exciting. We're the only ones with super grip, and it's good. We've got a pretty aggressive marketing strategy that we're going to unveil next year as well. If you race, we want you to race with us. We're at every GNCC. We bring the product. If you want to see some of the product, let us know what you want to see. Have questions about the seat, ask away. And it's good. Like we've actually changed up a little bit of the designs on some of the seats as well. All our seats are built right here in the USA. Our foams come out of man, where do they come out of? They come out of Idaho. And that's where a lot of the covers and stuff like that come out of as well. Some stuff comes out of New York. The carbon's actually being made right here in the USA for the TRX 90s as well.
Nice.
And it's good. Like the assembly goes on. Sometimes if you have an assembly on a seat, I might be the one that's actually stapling your seat on. And it's good. It's a step for me, something that allows for me to see another big piece that I think a lot of people underestimate is how sponsors look at riders and stuff like that. Because I've kind of had the curtain pulled back. Like I get to see, like when somebody calls me up, they're like, Hunter, I need, let's just say somebody's like, I need half off on a seat, and I'm like, okay, what warrants that half off, or that 50% off sponsorship discount, whichever way you want to consider it. And a lot of people will be like, well, like I race, and that's awesome. I mean, I love people that race, but what separates you that wants half off versus somebody that only wants 15% off, and you guys have the same results, same exposure, same everything? How do you bring more value to QuadTech, and how are you going to help spread the word? Basically, how are you going to tell your buddy to go buy a seat that translates back to you getting credit for it, basically? And that's one of the cool things about it. The other cool thing about it is that, it's good. TRX90s. You know, we very thankful to be a sponsor actually this year at the Janusa Turkey Derby. We're coming out to that. We're bringing we're actually gonna do some installs at the track. We've got some official, only available at the Janusa Turkey Derby products for TRX90s as well. And it's good. You know, we picked Nick up this year with the hope of bringing this stuff out, and yeah, it's exciting to see it come to life, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Are you ready to be captivated by one of nature's masterpieces? Discover the breathtaking beauty of Antelope Slot Canyon, a natural wonder in Page, Arizona. Join us on a guided tour and immerse yourself in the mystical light beams, rich colors, and serene landscapes. With tours at prime sunbeam hours, experience photographer's paradise and capture memories that will last a lifetime. Comfortable shoes, a camera, and a smile are all you need for this adventure. Book your journey today at Antelope Slot Canyon Tours and let the canyon enchant you. Please visit us now, antelopeslotcanyon.com, for more details.
That's awesome that you're so excited about that. Let me ask you this question. Being that you're an XC1 Pro and now you're on the other side of the fence with sponsoring riders, how important is it for you, before I get into my major topic with you, how important is it for you as a sponsor to have your guys developing social media and media presence?
Oh, it's huge. You know, I'm still a firm believer that, you know, if you're at the races and you're talking about the product at the races, you can do a far better job than any social media post. You know, yeah, you're going to reach some people, but you and I sitting around a campfire at the races talking about products that we like is going to do far more than somebody, you know, online. You know, I mean, because you and I both know, like, at the end of the day, if you can talk about it at the races, it's good. You know, we all race, or if you even go on a trail ride with your buddies, you know, Quad Tech doesn't just build seat covers for racers. You know, we like to go out on the trail rides with everybody well, and that's one of the biggest pieces, is just having brand exposure, to being able to go out and promote products. I mean, don't just promote the product the same way everybody else is. Promote the product in your own way. You know, talk about things that are exciting to you. Like, if you're a sand dune guy and you want to be out in the dunes, talk about, you know, you're not going to use super grip out in the sand dunes because it's not muddy, but you might use a hump seat out there. Like, that's the biggest piece, is applying products that, you know, that are applicable to what you do. You know, like, it wouldn't make sense for me to be out here promoting, you know, a set of drag slicks, because it's not the clientele. But the biggest piece is to know your audience and to know how to captivate that audience to come and buy a product. You know, like, one of the biggest pieces is that I could say is, if little Jimmy down the road is talking about his product, and then his buddy John comes in and says, "Hey, Jimmy told me this biggest asset that anybody can have for not only an increase in their deal for the next year, but showing the value that they said they had when they got the original deal."
Right. I think I agree with that. Always make sure you take care of your sponsors. Now,
Absolutely.
you know, and when the media call you, answer the call.
Yes. Just talk. It's not hard. Just talk.
Right. So, and that is something that a lot of guys and a lot of racers struggle with in today's climate, you know. So I appreciate this. So I'm saying thank you for you answering the call and coming on the show. But what I really want to convey to people, and what I really wanted to get in depth with you about, is the day in the life of Hunter Hart. And, you know, when you're out there being an XC Pro, being that you have a job and you're working out, building race bikes. So what's a day like for you?
Yeah, you know, I mean, we get started, you know, I like to be in the race shop by about 7:30 at the latest, you know. Usually that's we're either working out in the morning and then we'll eat breakfast after that, or we're breakfast into working on race bikes. Like today was a full day of nothing but working on ATVs. We washed a couple sets of tires, built up 2 sets of tires. Actually put on a lowered subframe on another race bike for the GNCC in 2 weekends. Just did all sorts of stuff like that, and just basically prepping everything to where you're able to be good to go for the next round, because when they're only 2-week turnarounds, they come quick. They come quick, and there's not much time in between.
So training is that something that you do every day?
Usually, yeah. Usually there's usually we like to do that in the morning, and then we'll usually ride in the afternoons. Usually after about lunch, I'll usually ride and just kind of have everything prepped and ready to go for the next day by about 6:30, 7 o'clock. And then, go make dinner.
When you say you ride, is there a set time frame that you set aside to go ride? Is it an hour? Is it an hour and a half? And we had another freeze.
It happens.
There you are.
There we go. We're back.
Yep. What I was asking you is when you prep to go ride, what is your time frame? I mean, you ride for 30 minutes, you ride for an hour?
Man, it all depends. Some days it's 30 minutes. Some days it goes sideways and it's only 15. But most days we'll go anywhere between, that 45-minute to probably an hour 15 mark, depending on what we're doing. Super fortunate to have some tracks that we can ride at up here. I got a local moto track that I can go to, a pretty solid woods loop at my house, and just stuff like that applies to what we do. Like going to John Penton, you might change it up, try and find somewhere that's got a little bit more clay base to it to ride on, versus find something that's super rocky, because there's not a ton of rock at Penton.
And like there was rock at this last race with dust. How do you prepare? How do you even get ready for that?
Oh, that was a nightmare. It basically, where you started is where you finished on the day, which is less than ideal. Yeah, not good. It was an interesting day to say the least. And but all in all, move on from it and go from there.
I take it you don't like the dust a whole lot.
Dude, it's usually not bad. The way I described it to somebody else was that the dust coupled with like normal condition, is not bad. But the dust, when you coupled it with those rocks that you couldn't see at all, was rough. Like that was the hard part, is you go into a section and you couldn't see anything, and then you just felt your bars getting ripped out of your hands was the biggest issue.
Wow. And that makes it twice as hard. You could be in the greatest shape of your life. If you can't see it coming, you can't prepare for it. What I asked you is, if you can't see it coming, you can't prepare for it then, right?
100%. That was the biggest issue, is like you just end up kind of having a rough day, because like you couldn't see the rock to be like, all right, I can bunny hop this rock onto the next one. You couldn't see that, and you just smash off the rocks all day. And it was rough. No matter what you did, it wasn't enjoyable. There wasn't very much joy had.
How do you take it mentally when you have a race that you didn't enjoy? Let me ask you a couple more questions and I'll let you get on with your evening. When you had to have a race like that and it's just mentally dragging, how do you focus and overcome it?
Dude, we were just happy it was over. We knew that we had to be there for 2 hours and we could go home. It's kind of the outlook for the last 2 GNCCs. There's 4 more hours, and then it's a fresh start. Then everybody's back at zeros, which will be nice. That'll be far more enjoyable than where we're currently at.
Do you, when you're in a situation where you only have 4 more hours to go,
yep,
are you thinking of taking any big swings at stuff to try something majorly different, or are we just going to stick to the program and run it?
100%, dude. I've got 4 more hours of R&D for next year that I can do at a race. That's going to be the biggest thing, is that we got some other stuff that we get to try out, the next couple of weekends, and it's going to be sick. No, I mean, honestly, the points are what they are. That doesn't even matter. Don't really care. But the nice thing is that we get to have true R&D at the races to figure out what we like, what we don't like, and just kind of build from there. This is when I can make drastic changes, because at this point, you know, it's whatever, you know.
So, a lot of professional teams will take a rider right off the track and go right into a debrief. They give you a drink of water, a Gatorade, and sit down.
Mhm.
And then you have a tech just grill you on all aspects of the machine. Is that something that you guys do?
Yeah, it's usually a one-on-one conversation with myself in the mirror, usually. You usually, thankfully, not many people are harder on me than I am on me. So there's not much need for a debrief when the only debriefing that's needed is from me.
Well, what I was thinking about is like the guy that's helping you with suspension or motor setup or whatever it is, if they were getting feedback and instantly right off to the track.
Usually I'll make notes and then I'll call them after I've had a little bit of time to debrief and think about it myself and figure out the best plan of attack to move forward with. Absolutely.
And when you want to make big changes, how does your suspension guy or your engine guy deal with that?
Oh, we're all in. We're all in. At the end of the day, we like to go fast and we like to figure out ways to go faster than we currently are going.
That's so outstanding. Hunter, as always, it's a pleasure to talk with you. I know that you're a busy guy and you have lots of things going on. I could sit and talk with you all night, but I don't want to consume more time than I'm allotted.
Oh, you're good, dude. No, I was hoping honestly that we'd have much more positives to talk about on this Monday. That's why I booked it right after the GNCC, but it's all good. It's all good, dude. It happens.
I think we do have a lot of positive. I like the fact that you're testing. It's
tremendous amounts of parts, dude. If you could see the pile of parts that we've tried and the things that I've crossed off, it's the coolest. The thing that I would tell people is find the products and find the people that make you happy to go to the races. And those are your people. And the people make you feel happy and warm and fuzzy at the end of the day at the races, dude. Run that product. Those are the people that are going to produce better results than if you have the best product, but they're terrible people behind it, dude. It's not worth it. You need to find the people that make it enjoyable to be at the races. And because at the end of the day, dude, it's fun. If it's not fun, dude, don't go.
Right. I mean, it's not like you're making $1 million a year to do this, right?
Not at all.
No. Well, you're still a fairly young guy. What do you see the future for Hunter Hart? I mean, is it long-term career, another 10 years, 15 years, 5 years? What are you thinking?
I'd say we got at least 10. We've got at least 10 years. We're gonna, thankfully, being in a good place with QuadTech, I'm at the races. And that's the other nice thing for me too, being there is I was able to just kind of go back and forth with some people this weekend and ask them what products they'd like to see brought to the marketplace. And that's one of the big things too, is being at the races. I'm able to do all types of things like that,
Doing more and more product development and growing the network with QuadTech, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's awesome. It's good. It's a good place to be.
And that working with QuadTech gives you access to other sponsors as well, means that you're helping other packages grow. You might be able to meet other people and grow your own setup.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. We've got some cool collaborations that are in the works right now. Not ready to release those yet, but within the next probably 3 to 6 months, you guys should see some cool stuff that we've that I've been testing.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it. And you know what? I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, and all for the young riders that are listening. I reached out to Hunter not that long ago. We had a great conversation, text messaging back and forth. And here he is on the show talking about his life and the things that he's doing. This is what your sponsors want you to do. This is why I think this is another reason, Hunter and I enjoy our conversations, but his sponsors want him on here talking about what he has, because I have a reach for not just cross-country ATV riders. I'm reaching riders all over the world. And he has fans in countries he doesn't even know he has fans in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's good, and I mean, we get to talk about cool things. I mean, ATVs are cool. At the end of the day, that's what we like about them. And just being able to build and go from there, dude, is one of the biggest things. But no, I appreciate you having me on as usual. And we'll recap when it's time to release some other cool stuff.
Oh, anytime you're ready, you just hit me up. We'll do it. I'm always always enjoying having Hunter Hart on my show.
I appreciate it, buddy. But yeah, no, everybody stay tuned. Later on this week, we're going to have an exciting announcement coming out. And yeah, other than that, guys, let's just grip it and rip it.
Hey, if you have those notifications, make sure you send them to ATV-TALK so we can help spread them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely will.
All right, brother. You have a great night again. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, buddy. See ya.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to share us with your family and friends. The podcast is available on all streaming platforms, and you can find us on social media as ATV-TALK Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter.